Hello everybody, welcome back. In this class is what we're going to do is we're going to start off doing a contour line drawing, and I'm going to kind of talk about how that happens. And basically it's a drawing where it's outlined pretty much and you're just trying to come up with a nice line, and we are going to work with a little line variation in the drawing. Once I do this, you'll turn off this video, and then you're going to be doing two drawings from one object, thinking of the same type of idea. Then you're going to come back and turn this back on again, and you're going to get into the main idea. And I'm just going to briefly touch on it at the moment, and then I'll elaborate on it after the contour line demo. So is where this is going to lead to is this is the class before midterm, which is the final drawing of the first half, which is all a constructional drawing. So is what we're going to be doing after this contour line drawing. You're going to be finding an object, and you're going to take that object, and it's going to be done, you're going to be drawing it four different ways, the four different ways that we covered in the class, which I'll talk about after the contour. And so this one that I'm about to do, the contour line, is going to be one of those four. So I need you to pay close attention to it and how it works in with the other three that we've already done. So anyways, with contour line drawing is what I'm going to do is going to be drawing this skeleton of this little dog, basically. And some of the things that usually work the best in a contour line drawing is something that's not too symmetrical. So if you're able to find something like maybe artificial flowers or real flowers, even in a fancy vase with it, that would work out good. Or some of you have stuffed animals, work out great. Is what you don't want to do is something real symmetrical like a teapot or a drinking glass. It's easier to let a contour line wander over something that's not real equal on both sides, as you'll see. The other thing that we're going to watch is you guys are going to draw with a pencil. I meant to bring one in here. I want to see if I have one real quick. Anyways, I forgot to bring one in. But is what you're going to be doing is drawing with a pencil. This is a charcoal pencil, but you are going to take a 6B pencil when you draw this contour line drawing. So this is a 6B charcoal. You're going to be doing a 6B regular pencil. And is what you're going to do, if you have the X-Acto knife that was on the material list, I'm going to have you chisel this the way this is, where the lead is down low. So in other words, you chisel the wood off of it, and preferably the end, like this piece of charcoal is, not put into a pencil sharpener, is what you want the end to be is a little bit blunt, so that if you have a nice soft pencil and a blunt end, when you work with a contour line drawing, if you press hard or turn the pencil, you can come up with a real thick line. Otherwise, if you turn the pencil another way, you're going to get a thinner line. And so on this particular drawing, I'm going to try to get a thinner line and a thicker line, and you will do the same. You're going to be using your 6B charcoal, 6B regular pencil. I'm going to be using a piece of vine charcoal. Now, there's two ways to vary lines on this, and I'm going to do it where things that come closer than other things, I'm going to use a heavier, darker line. Things that kind of go back, I'm going to try to keep the line a little thinner so that there's a little depth to the drawing. So if you guys are working on a white piece of paper, it works out very nice where if you keep the line, like for me, this is further away than this. For you, this is further away than this. So the line back here could be drawn lighter, and the line could get a little heavier as it comes to the front, and that would give you a little depth. But it has to be consistent. The other way of using a line is according to the light. That way would be where anything where the light strikes, in my case coming from the left, I would use a lighter line, and on the shadow sides I would use a darker line. But you can't switch these two ways of working in one drawing. It's got to be consistent. So again, I'm going to show you the one where it's lighter further away, darker closer, things overlapping coming closer. Okay. So with that in mind, I will get started. So thinking of this little dog, I'm going to start off at his head at the top, and I'm going to kind of think about here. With a contour, you kind of follow it around, and I'm coming around and I'm watching this angle, say, So I'm coming, and if you run into problems, erase your line, go over it. I'm going to do this, and then when I see his cheekbone here, there's a plane. We know about plane breaks. There's a plane break. So what I'm going to do is watch for that plane break, and I'm going to place it in, and I'm going to bring this in a little bit for his nose, probably to about here. I'm going to kind of generalize this a little bit, coming across the front of his nose, and then I'm going to take a line going at an angle back this way, and just to try to get the feel of the shape of his head. Now, I'm going to take, with contour line drawings, it's not just going around the outside. So far, that's what I've done. I can cross through the center. We can place in like this, eventually, a plane break, right? I can use lines at plane breaks. That's the top line here. So I need you to watch the lines and not just go around the outline that way. This line through the center, this angle that I'm seeing from my angle is important, and I am going to try to place that in at the angle that I'm seeing it, and it's coming through to about here. So that angle being this angle. His nose has a plane break here. I am going to bring that up, and it comes across the front, so I want to watch where that front is. For me, the side is here, and I want to try to get these points to kind of come together very much like this. Now, on this head, there's a curve to this. I'm eliminating all of that. I'm just watching the angles, simplifying it as much as I can to get these shapes in place. So then I would know if this angle is working to this angle, which is pretty close from what I'm seeing. I'm going to bring this around, and I'm going to kind of look at its shape and carry this around to here. And so I'm going to run this line kind of the way that I see it this way. Okay. So the same with yours, take an eraser, because the idea is to try to get the lines as nice as you possibly can. You can erase them, you can go back, but you're coming up with nice lines. This line that's down here is the angle of his jaw, which we'll talk about in a minute. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to watch his eyes. Now, the interesting thing with the eyes on this, it's a plane and it's on an angle. So even though I want to use a curve and I want to watch the distances between my middle, so what I'm going to do is temporarily, I'm just going to kind of mark just slightly where those edges are. So maybe you'll see this up there, hopefully. So I'm saying I see only that much distance from there, and I'm trying to watch this distance from the cheekbone, and I say that's going to go in there something at that angle. So I've got to watch this angle, even though it's a curve, it's on a side plane. All of you know about side planes now. So I'm going to place that in. So there's a little bit of an angle doing this, so it feels like it's not sitting like this, flat on there, okay? So anyways, you kind of feel this rolling around this way, and then we get the one on this side. I could kind of get a sense for this rolling around this way, and then where is this one going to be placed? This one's a little closer to me, so I might keep it just a little bigger, okay? So I'm going to loosely place it in now. And I'll do that with it. Okay, so then the eyes itself picks up the angle of the surface. So contour lines, you're looking for all the things that we've actually talked about so far. We've talked about planes, we've talked about forms, you're trying to put those things in there. Now, what I'm going to watch is here, and right here I get like a tooth. I am going to put that in. From my angle, I see two of them like that, and from this side, as it makes its curve to its jaw going back, and then I get the feeling of the jaw goes up at this angle and down. The inside line of the jaw is going to come down this way. Now, placing those lines, check your angles periodically. I'm coming down in this direction. And so now is what I want to do. Before I do anything there, I'm going to put this bone in his mouth. So I'm going to watch what's known as the negative space. Watch these things. So it's this space in here I want to take note of. So how big is that space? And it's smaller than what I've got. So that means this bone comes up higher. And this comes in. And the bone comes around this way. And then it's going to come how far by his teeth. So now I'm going to try to get that as careful as I can. I'm going to make it a little narrower than I had it, and I'm going to run it through like this, okay? to try to refine the shape just a little bit, okay? So anyways, I'm going to place that in there. On this side, I'm going to watch where I've got my line there, and there's another little tooth here. You might barely be able to see it. I'm going to use it for myself so I know kind of where this next line plays of the bone, and the bone is in here. So now I'm going to do this, widens where his jaw is. There's a plane to it, coming down this way, and coming across. So it's in there, something like that. I have to be careful with this side, so I'm going to wipe it out if it's not right and make it just a little bit smaller than what I originally had it, say about like this. Okay, so that's a little better on this side. So anyways, placing in those shapes, if you watch my lines here, I've got this and a plane break. All of you know what plane breaks are. For me, this is important on this side. It's got to go that way, this way, and picking up the edge of the plane break here. And so this is going to be my divisions for the side of the bone, right? So we want to watch how all of that is. The edge of the jaw is going to come into his head here. The side of the head then looks pretty close. I'm going to neaten it up a little bit. I'm going to take this ear, run it in, and I'm going to place this one in about here. Touch too big. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to watch this line a little bit. I'm going to make this one a little heavier. I'm going to take this one in here and strengthen it. Keeping this one a little less. I'm going to take this one and make it a little darker. Once you get something down there, feel free to mess around with the line a little bit. This one I would keep rather light because it goes back further. Okay, so what I want to do now, I have to be careful with the charcoal because it's easy to get my hands into it and to rub it off. You guys won't have that problem with the pencil, of course. The jaw coming from this side, I'm going to watch where it is here, about here. I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to turn the angle of his mouth. I'm going to keep this side a little heavier. I'm going to put a double line to it and go for the thickness and this angle in here. For the bottom of his jaw, there is an inside to the jaw. I'm going to keep it so light, a lot lighter than the outside. Okay, so the same with yours. Lighter line on the inside. There are teeth in here. They're small. I'm going to put maybe just a couple of them in there. Okay, just so that you kind of see where they're at. Okay, so anyways, I got a couple little lines. Now, I want to move this along a little quicker. So now that we got somewhat of his head in place, I'm going to do this for his nose. And then I'm going to watch the angles that I see up here for the flare of the nose. And I'm going to keep those dark. Okay, so it picks up the curve of the face. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take his spine, and I'm getting it off the corner of the bone, and I'm going to bring it around, and I'm going to watch some of the vertebrae, kind of concave, convex, but got to watch its direction, so I'm rubbing it out because I want to watch it just a little. It's so easy when you go around these things, when you're following the contour line, it's easy to get lost and lose sight of, so I'm going to go after that first, and actually lose sight of the directions. So before I do anything with any subtlety, I'm just going to go after this contour line. Okay, and then I'll build in some of the subtlety. This here is the pelvis. Some of you will be able to see it. The top of the pelvis here, I'm going to suggest at it. So it's going to do this. And then the lower part of it, there's a top part of it here coming up, overlapping the spine. So I'm going to make this line heavier. I'm going to try to somewhat exaggerate it for you so that you can see it better. So anyways, making this line bolder and heavier as it comes forward. Little things, these are nice to do. Like I'm doing this quicker than what I'm asking you guys to do, just because time. But I would then want to go back and look at the shapes of these bones, you know, and what they're doing, how they're going to progressively get smaller and smaller. Anyways, as we approach the bottom of this, where the ribs are, I'm going to take this one and bring it down, let's just say about to, I'm going to do a measurement and see. I'm going to take it down maybe a touch lower, maybe to about here. There's a lot of ways I could do this. I could focus on the negative space here, and then I might, because of time, I might group them like this. So I'm going to kind of group them together. I do want to check their angles just so that there's a curve to the bones. I'm going to take this area of the leg, that's the closest, and I'll go back. Right here is where I'm at. And I'll go back to those bones later just to know, because with a contour line drawing, you never know if proportions are in, because you're not starting off with an envelope. You're not doing any of those things. Because what you're doing is you're just drawing. And so I could check that leg and say, where is it? Does it come to where it should come? And then I could say, no, I can make it a little further over. So you're going to have to check these things on your own, because it is easy to lose the sense of direction. Like this direction is moving more on an angle than I had it. So this is moving out. And when I check that angle going up, it should be out to about here. So it still tells me I can pull that out even further. So from the angle I'm standing is a little difficult to get the angle that I'm looking for. Okay, so I'm going to take that down to about there. But anyways, I do feel better about its angle and its placement. So once I get that in place, is what I'm going to do is go for the next bone. And I'm going to check the height of it. So this, okay, it's going to work out okay. So the one below the bone in here, I'm going to bring it through. And again, just follow the shapes. Bones are kind of fun to do because of how they turn and bend. Now, that gives me a clue of where this needs to go. And that's why I wanted to get that placed. So I have an idea of what I can do with these ribs. So I had to get one thing in place to scale it to the next. Now it shouldn't be too difficult. Okay, so that's going to be like that. And then I'm just going to keep this one where I've got it up higher, like that. So we're going to keep him like that. And then in the front, I do see a little bit of the opening of the top of the rib cage. I'm going to put that in. And how the next piece comes out of it. Okay. Now I'm going to take his leg. And I see a top plane. Watch those planes. This is a plane break. You guys probably can't see it from your angle, but it's clear from my angle. This will come down to here. There's a side. The bone goes up. It turns and goes this way. There's a plane break. Doing that. And then I'm going to squeeze this foot in. One plane coming up, down, over. And then there's a side plane. I'm not sure if you guys are going to pick this up. Hopefully you can see it a little bit. Okay, so then there's a plane break. The back of the leg now is what we'll do is place him. And we'll get that in there. And then that angle is going to come about like this. Find how it comes across where the ribs are. So about as low as I got it, or no lower than I've got it. Bring it through bones have a curve on the bottom because they kind of rock up against the other bones. They curve like your bones of your finger. This little bone here is known as the patella, your knee bone. And then underneath that, you're going to get the next one. And we'll watch its size. Watch your angles. 1 plane, 2 planes coming up. Okay. So watch the angles of anything you do. Keep watching planes. I'm going to check where this is to his tail. It's close. I'm going to leave it and bring it in for the lower part, just like the upper part of your forearm, the ulna and the radius. And then this part, the ulna on the other side. And then you get his foot. And then the thickness of the foot. And then the plane breaks inside of it, right? So then you go after those little things. I see a little bit of the leg on the other side. Just about have this done. And I'm going to loosely place it in, very light. These, so you might not even see it because I'm putting it in so light. And then one last little thing I'm going to do off of his knee. I get a little glimpse, and it's got to go in very lightly in order to get the other foot. This is in there, very heavy plane break on there. So I would go back. I'm not going to spend the time to go into this and work with all the subtlety. I want you to spend the time on it, on the ones that you do, and put in the subtlety. I would go back in and watch some of my lines that are very close, like I'm about to do at the moment, and thicken them to kind of pull them forward. And then there needs to be transitions, so I might keep that thick, let it fade as it goes back, thinner there, thicker here, thinner there. Bone comes in front of, darker there than there. I might strengthen this a little bit in the front. So basically, that's our contour line drawing. Take a little bit of time with it. Again, the idea about this now is trying to come up with a clean line, a line that varies. You're not gesturing it in first, so the proportions, you got to check them a little bit along the way, like how high is that tail, is it close, or how big is the head? If I've got it close, it should come down a head. That's about right. It should be a head between there and this is a little tight. It could have been a little bit longer now that I look at it. So you want to check those proportions when you're working with yours and try to get them as accurate as you can without the gesture first. Stop this video, and then what you're going to do is you're going to be doing 2 contour drawings from one object, not one object, 2 different angles, and then you will resume this video when you're done.